Right, so welcome to another episode of Taura, Tinzwe. I think it's been a pleasure and an honor really to have you logging in today. I don't know what time it is in the world that you're watching this video right now. It could be the morning, the afternoon, the evening. Hey, whatever time it is, hope you're having a great time. And welcome again. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Monde. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to grace your space. It's good for you to be here.
Appreciate it, thank you. Yeah. And I think Mr. Monde, we've had a number of conversations, I think, up until this time. Yeah. And one of the things that I really realize about you is that you're passionate a lot. You've got a lot of passion about these fatherhood issues. What drives that passion? What inspires you to be so passionate about these issues around fatherhood?
Well, to sum it up, for me, it's your number one validation as a person. I'm a father to a 5-year-old. Going on to 30, and we here at home we also have a nephew who's pretty much part of our family. So you could say I'm a father to 2 boys. Okay. So, but when I look at my 5-year-old, everything else that he does, he may not necessarily ask, Daddy, am I doing right? But the body language, he looks up to me and says, Daddy, am I going right about this? Sure. So I think in life, even the number one validation that you hope to have ever in life, it starts with your number one relationship, which is often between the father and the son, or even the son or the child, yeah, with the mother, but the parent-child relationship. So you get the validation from there. So for me, I've been passionate about this because for the longest of times I lacked that in my relationship. Sure. And with my trajectory in life, and there's certain parts that I've had to, like you go the right long way route, yeah, to get to something. Mm-hmm. And I figure there's a simpler way where you're not alone in that route. Mm-hmm. Your parent is there with you. Sure. So for me, that's what my passion is, to say I may have given, or with the help of my wife, of course, yeah, we may have given birth to this child, but he's not meant to walk alone. That's true. Yeah, I've walked alone for the longest of times. When it comes to my paternal side of the family, yeah, I've walked alone for the longest of times. And therefore, no child is deserving of such. All right,
I hear you, and I think it's something that's very important that you talk about the maternal aspect of things, and how that validation comes through, especially coming from a father. You look at your son and you see how he's reacting to what you say to him, and when you kind of approve or disapprove, and obviously how he falls in line with that. Yeah. And of course, like you say, it's a bit of a gap for you. Yeah. Why is that so? How was your relationship with your dad, and why did you find this to be missing in your particular own life?
Look, my parents went their separate ways. I mean, when I think it was 10, 11. This was in the early 90s. Okay. And prior to that,
early 90s with 10. How old are you now? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was in the early 90s. He was still living in Soweto then. So yeah, they went their separate ways. But prior to that, I have pocket memories of the goodness from my dad. Yeah. I'm not saying he's just downright a bad person. Yeah. But there's a lot that I go back to about him being a great person in my life. Mm-hmm. However, I battle to marry that which is in the past and what is presented to me now. Sure. So that's why for me it's a constant battle that I try to make sense of this, and honestly I still don't have an answer today. But to come back to your question, it has been a difficult time, and not by any lack of trying from my part. Mm-hmm. I've tried with him. I've even said things quite bluntly at some instances with him. But there hasn't been anything forthcoming from his end. Sure. And partly this is coupled with, I've battled with this for so long, to a point where at some point I was seeing a psychologist about it. And at that time I was then advised with everything that we were doing, to get things, to help me, that I needed to make peace with the person that I knew as a 10-year-old, and the person that is my father now. Yeah. Those are not the same person, and therefore I needed to, moan the 10-year-old memory and put it to rest. and be realistic with what's presented to me.
So in other words, are you saying there was almost a breakdown per se in the relationship that you had with your dad as a result of the split up? Because I ask, this is very important. A lot of people out there come from situations where, you know, parents at some point in time don't agree, you know, for whatever reason, and they end up divorcing. I'm one of those. My parents divorced, I think I must have been 6. And for the longest of time, I grew up with a lot of anger issues. I never understood why it happened, how it happened, but one thing I knew is that he wasn't there to buy me this, he wasn't there to take care of me, etc., etc. So would you characterize perhaps your relationship prior to like those pockets of memory that you put, and contrasting it to what you have now, to say this was a definite impact in the relationship that you had? You never had it the same after the breakup.
Yeah, it was. Strange enough, even that, if I recall, it was around those early 90s. Because I happened to mention something to my mother, and like any other parent, you want to protect your offspring.
Sure.
But I think at that time, for me, there was a lot that I was witnessing. Like any other child, a child would witness a lot of things. They would then make sense to the child as the child grows. So I had then witnessed a lot of things around, a lot of behavior around my father, which I then later questioned. But the first person that I asked these questions to was not him, but my mother.
Your mother, yeah.
And only to discover that there's a lot that perhaps I was shielded from. So I think the moment I spoke to my mother about this, because it wasn't long after that, then they split, and then we had to move to the Eastern Cape with my mother, and he remained in Johannesburg. Okay, I came back to Johannesburg after 4 years, I think. I came back end of '96, but it was never the same. There was just this void. I'd like to think as a teenager I tried to reach out to him. At that time, all he was to me was, you could say maybe a financer. He took me to boarding school. He took me to school.
So he paid the bills in it.
He paid the bills, but beyond that, there was nothing there.
And I think, what would you say then? I want you to flip the script now. Put yourself in your dad's shoes. In a situation like this, and potentially somebody who's listening to this and is going through something similar. I don't know what would have obviously caused the separation between him and his son, but he finds himself at a place where he's not staying with the son permanently at home. What are the things that you think he should be doing as a man, as a father, to ensure that, you know, the boy child gets everything that he requires from him?
I think the first thing I would have loved, for my dad, I look at the way that I live my life, it's more like a catalyst for my sons. The one thing that I would have loved from my dad, which probably would have remedied a lot of things to smooth the whole thing out, would be, a sense of taking ownership, accountability. My dad has never owned up to what really happened between him and my mother. For me, that would have gone a long way in, look, my dad is not perfect, he's human. But I long for that in him. That, look, son, I make mistakes, but I make mistakes in trying to get somewhere. Because anybody who doesn't commit mistakes, it means that you're not doing anything.
You're not really human after all.
You're not human after all. So I would have loved him to take accountability with a lot of things that happened. And I'm not saying that I needed ABC an account of what really happened, but this is what happened, son. Whether he's sorry or not, let's move forward. But we've never, with him, it's never that has never happened. It's always been, and what's worse is that for me, it got to a point where I wanted to be of service, if you call it, to both parents. I never wanted to choose between my mother and my father. So with my father, because he's the guy who pretty much raised me, or when I lived in the same yard with him. Then one was pushed to choose. To choose between my mother and him, and I just could not have it. So it just deepened the rift between the two of us. So there was no healing and nothing beyond. But to answer your question, what I would like him to do to a boy child is the world is tough as it is. The world is tough as it is, and often I don't expect the world to do you any favors. But a father to a son, to create an environment where you know you are safe, you're safe. Or with us, or me anyway, I didn't grow up with that because I was easily told that if you're not doing well with mathematics, I'm happy to pay for a street kid. Not that I see you struggling with mathematics. How do we get a tutor or anything? It was get your act up. If not, ship off. There's someone who needs that. Who needs your position. So it was. You could say I was an employee.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. Right, and I think when I listen to your story, and I think it kind of echoes to a lot of what men say out there in terms of the unavailability of the dads. Firstly, physically, you know, I think 6 out of 10, the latest stats that I was looking at kind of showed that the kids grow up without their dads. I think about 6 out of 10. So you'd fall on the 4 out of 10 side, which is almost, I would say, the privileged side. Even though, of course, the physical presence did not really translate into emotional presence.
Yes.
Now, looking at all those things that happened then, what are the perhaps 1 or 2 things that you are now trying to shift and change for your son's benefits that you see? You know what, because I didn't get 1, 2, 3, I want to ensure that my son gets those things that I didn't get.
Well, twofold. One being, as you say, physically present. I mean, with my wife, and I look, no shun on anybody who chooses to have, or for whatever reason, we happen to have a child out of the confines of our marriage. Well, with us, it was a conscious decision, you know, to avoid a lot of pitfalls. So we are only going to have a child once we're married. So that was in place. We secured our home so that should we have a child, this boy grows, or this child, boy or girl anyway, this child grows under the same roof as us. So that's, you know, that takes care of the physical presence. Now the emotional presence to it is that I think I'm so available to my boys to a point where they think I'm their friend. I think I'm their friend. Look, we have an open, not even an open policy. I mean, this is our bedroom. That's Nati's and that's Rihanna's bedroom. They have them on the side of the house. But this is the common space. This is the common space where they may be busy in their rooms, but come dinner time, we all sit here. It's not so formal that we need to ask each other how was your day and so on, but it's part of our engagement. So we talk about anything to a point where my kids are so around me so much that I think they learn how I reason to a point where when they need to ask something from me. So this is what they are going to say. So they come up with solutions just to so that they can understand where I'm going with this.
Sure.
So taking them to school, I drop them off at school, I pick them up, homeschooling, and now that I'm home, I'm the one who does homeschooling. And I'm so involved. I mean, school runs, it's just me. He has his maths classes, his engineering classes, I take him to school. And our trips to school, we have our songs that we sing to. So before, and one thing that my dad once said to me, I don't know what propelled this of him, but he said this, but everything that he did was the opposite. He said to me, you must remember, I'm your first best friend. And that to me resonates so much with me when I look at this. If Nati or Vianney, if anything, they're going to know anything about life, how they ought to deal with it, or what their opinion being formulated, it will mostly be based on how me as their father dealt with it. So they are right here. They're in my pockets, these boys. Wherever I go, if Vianney needs to go play soccer because he's an avid soccer player, we all go. Nati is your brother playing. So we move as a unit. And it's very important that you do that, you know, because I think the survey that I did for the book that I ended up writing on these issues between dads and their sons, one of the things that really came strongly was that, you know, in as much as the physical presence is there, we lack the emotional bit, and we would want to make that up in this next generation, which I think you're doing pretty well by being there. Now, of course, we're coming from this lockdown season and we've spent so much time in each other's faces. Do you think perhaps that has been enhanced, or was that something that you think, okay, this is just too much, I need space away from you boys? I think for me, it has enhanced. It has availed an opportunity. I don't know would have been there had it not been. Still, I say, you know, as much as we move as a unit wherever we go, you know, this lockdown has pretty much forced us to I mean, yeah, we sleep in different bedrooms. You know, the kids are this side, we are that side, but we are in the common space for, you know, I mean, we could say if not, except for the 8 hours they're in bed.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the remainder of the day we in one space. So it's forced. Yes, it has forced us to not coexist, but to live together. We most like, you know, what, stones in a river. You know, they grind upon each other until there's fluidity. So yeah, this lockdown, it has helped us immensely. That is, but at the same time, I do need a break from this guy. Sure. We do need a break.
Sure.
But I'm not saying they get up on my nerves, but sometimes with the guys in or do I need to get in the car and say, no, I need to go to the shop to just pick up a few things.
Yeah.
But even time spent away from them,
Yeah.
I miss them. I miss them because honestly, I can't think of it. What was I doing with my life before?
Before they came out.
Before these guys.
Yeah.
I don't remember much. Well, a friend of mine once said to me, and whenever we have to invite you, you know, we have to put an application.
Oh, really?
It's difficult to leave you out of your home. I don't know. I love being around my kids.
Right, I appreciate that view when I'm on it. I think that to cap this up and to wrap this up really, there's a question that I always ask people in this interview, and I would like for you at this moment in time to kind of imagine that the whole world somehow is going to get access to this video and listen to what it is that you want to say. If you had one message really that you want to give to people out there regarding these issues or anything, what would you say to the world right now?
We need to love each other. We need to love each other, and above that we need to enable each other. And for me the emphasis being enabling. If I am a great father, of course these kids, when they're happy they'll say so, when they're not they'll say the opposite. But not only am I a good father with them, but I'm enabled to be a good father to them. And I'm not doing this alone.
Yeah.
You know, there's my wife there as well. She allows me to be a father to them in the same way that I allow her to be a mother to them. So we need to be able to love each other as a people. I think we are a really hurt nation, as a people, that is. Yeah. So I think love first and foremost, and then extend yourself to the next person, enable the next person to reach their potential. You may not know what it is at the time. Or, I mean, just to sum it up, you never know who's looking at you, who's watching, who's learning from you. So be a catalyst to other people.
Sure. No, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I think the love aspect, we really need to love each other out there, guys. You heard it from yourself, Monde. Thank you very much for featuring on the show.
Thank you, man.
It was a privilege and honor. And for everybody that's watching out there, this is it. Catch you for another episode of Taura Tinzwe. We out.